I should be really angry at this book, to be honest. Why, do you ask? Well, because it's so extremely beautiful. Mörk Borg is an RPG book that manages to engage me so much every time I go through it that I don't want to read other rule sets. Which is a shame, as I would definitely miss out on all the other great stuff out there if I would follow this instinct. But I have to admit, because of that, I'm already feeling more comfortable with its rules than a certain world's greatest RPG. Sure, Mörk Borg is way less complex than D&D, but still, sometimes I feel like the player's handbook tries to hide things from me. This book, however, jumps in your face and starts to punch in those rules. This bold and loud style is surely not everybody's cup of meat, but for me, it checks all the boxes. Now, as I want to get more people into this game, I want to host a little introductory adventure for my current gaming group. For that I need miniatures, representing every class in the core rulebook. And as this TTRPG presents itself as bold, loud and colorful, my first set of adventurers need to be just as bold, loud and colorful. To achieve that, I wanted to use these acrylic markers by Posca, which I found while strolling through my local artist supply shop. I'm already very familiar with a similar paint brand. Molotov also makes acrylic markers for a similar application, graffiti art on almost any surface. I, however, don't own the markers by this company, but these refiller bottles. You've probably seen those a lot if you follow my channel, as I use them almost all the time. Because of their properties, these are great as a primer and can be easily shot through an airbrush. They also come as a rattle can version, but I haven't tested these, so I cannot say how well these perform for our purposes. Painting terrain with these should be fine though. Now you may be asking yourself, Matt, why are you not using your standard miniature paints? First of all, I was simply curious. As I use similar paints regularly anyway, I figured that using them directly in their marker form should be at least possible. The other problem was my intended color scheme. As I already hinted at, my goal was to have miniatures that reflect the same bold approach as the art in the Mörk Borg rulebook: black, yellow, pink and white. The problem I faced here was with the yellow. Yellow paints are notoriously difficult in miniature painting. There are several workarounds, like first priming your minis in pink and then adding a coat of yellow, like in this Scuba Town Hobbies video. But if you start with a simple black prime like I did, painting yellow over it can be somewhat of a nightmare. My hope with these markers was to prevent that by applying the yellow and every other tone directly with these highly covering markers. But first, I needed miniatures. Now, I could have kit bashed something together for sure, but I wanted the old school feeling of metal minis. I don't know what it is, but these just feel right to me, as opposed to the spindly nature of some modern sculpts. In the end, I decided to go with these. These are from Northstar miniatures and are intended to be used in frostgrave. I had to make an exception to my metal mini rule, as these demonic soldiers only come in plastic, and going through the miniatures, I did not find a better suited mini for the fanged deserter. For the ultimate old school look, I glued the minis to 20mm square bases. I still have so much of them lying around here, so I was super happy to finally use them again. Admittedly, I prefer round bases for miniatures, but this blast from my past is a nice change of pace. After priming the miniatures in black, I went in and took some reference photos where I illuminated the miniature from only one side. These pictures I loaded into Photoshop and applied the torn edges filter to get sharp white and black surfaces. With that, I had a rough idea on where my miniatures were going to be highlighted. With a black primer in place, I started to paint the miniatures, first with the hardest color, yellow. And it went relatively well. The markers themselves cover pretty well, and the 0.7 tip even allows some details to be painted, especially when you paint a single line on the model. On larger surfaces, the problematic properties of yellow still persist, though not as obvious. Here I simply went over them in a second pass or used standard acrylic paints to reinforce them. Luckily, the yellow of the marker is identical to the cold yellow of my Chimera paints tone-wise. To make the models a bit more distinctive, I paint the, in my mind, distinguishing features with a pink marker. Now this thing worked a bit better as the tone covers better than the yellow, but still comes with another small problem all these markers share. While painting the bigger surfaces, I noticed that they were sometimes a bit too loaded with paint. This can result in paint running down into creases and crevices where you wouldn't want them. So to counteract that, I took a piece of paper and unloaded some of that paint on it. Also, sometimes it was necessary to agitate the marker a bit to reload the paint into the tip. But these were just minor gripes I had while working with them, and after I figured out how to deal with it, it was not a big problem. Now to round that up, I used the white marker to add some final highlights. Here the limitations of the markers became more and more clear, so I took out my heavy body titanium white from Winsor & Newton and added smaller highlights like in the face area with a brush. Also, I cleaned up a few transitions with either my black marker or black paint applied with the brush. And with that, my first set of adventurers were already ready to travel to the Dark Fort. And here are the adventurers, the gutter-born scum, the heretical priest, or nun in this case, the fanged deserter, the esoteric hermit, the occult herbmaster, and of course, the wretched royalty. Admittedly, this was not the most challenging paint job, but this wasn't my goal. I wanted to capture the bold, in-your-face style of the great art found in the Mörk Borg books, and the way I see it, I succeeded. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Lenric's Realm will have its first anniversary in precisely a month, and it would be such a great thing to celebrate this incredible year by hitting the Big 10 before that. But even if not, I'm so thankful that you decided to watch this video, and I hope I convince you to check out my other stuff, like this video where I painted the Warcry warband in a more classical style. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and until then, farewell fellow adventurers.